Hello and welcome to Local Edition. I'm Leslie Leyton. California's budget delivered on time and with a surplus, but our next guest says if you look a little closer, the big picture really isn't as rosy as you might think. Assemblyman Don Wagner, thank you very much for being here.
Hi, Leslie, glad to be with you.
Well, what's not to like? If you can deliver it on time, a surplus, additional funds going to a lot of different places, what's wrong?
The problem is not the current budget necessarily. The problem is, as identified by the governor, that the surplus that we face right now is as a result of some one-time things that we can't expect to continue. For example, we've got some windfall capital gains. In addition, we've got tax increases that are scheduled to go away eventually. The problem I see is that Sacramento has not fundamentally reformed either the way it does business or in particular its budget-making process. I worry when this money goes away, and the governor does say it's temporary, those are his words, not mine. When it goes away, we're going to be right back in the same situation, and that's what we should avoid in Sacramento.
Okay, so the state got lucky with the additional revenue from the capital gains and with the windfall from Prop 30, but it is, running okay. What is the real problem? What would you like to see changed as the way things are financed through the budget?
Let me give you a couple of examples. First of all, the governor is talking about paying down the wall of debt, except that as you define the wall of debt in the governor's budget, you see that it's money that we've essentially owe to ourselves, money that the state of California has been borrowing from one fund to put into another fund. Some of those accounting gimmicks that we all talked about in the last several years to keep the government functioning. When you're paying that money back, you're not doing anything necessarily economically advantageous. You're taking money from one pocket and putting it into another. I would like to see, for example, the government right now in Sacramento make a substantial down payment on the $10 billion, for instance, that we owe to the federal government. That's not money we owe ourselves. That's money we owe someone else, and it's money that is being accumulating a lot of interest, for example. I'd also like to see us start making some serious contributions to our pension obligations, which could total as much as $500 billion over the course of the next 30 plus years. That's substantial money, and if we don't get a handle on that, our budget is not going to be so rosy going forward.
Okay, but paying that down, where's the money going to come from? You wouldn't like it if they raised more taxes to do it.
No, you don't need to raise more taxes to do it. We have a surplus right now, and what needs to be done, in my mind, is that surplus directed towards these debts, that surplus saved for a rainy day for when there are downturns later on, that surplus not be spent on one-time expenses and not be spent sort of making some of the same mistakes we made in the last several years of budgets.
Well, the governor has been out there saying, I'm keeping a little rainy day fund. Is it not big enough? What's wrong with what he's saying?
Oh, no, what the governor is saying is quite fine, and I do very much appreciate it. The problems are, number one, I would, if it were my budget, make it a larger and more robust rainy day fund, not so easy for the legislature to tap into. But the other thing you need to realize is while the governor is talking very responsibly about how these are one-time funds and a windfall, a lot of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are talking about more and more spending, much more even than the governor is proposing. And that's the wrong way for us to go.
Okay. Thank you very much, Assemblyman Don Wagner, for being here today. And thank you for joining us. You can always check out additional local editions on demand Channel 1 or on YouTube. I'm Leslie Leyton.